Welcome back to my story time channel. Today I'm going to share a story time about the day that my transmission stopped working. It stopped working while I was driving. Once upon a time, once I got in my car, started driving, and I saw my battery light was on. So I'm like, I don't know why my battery light would be on when my battery was only 2 months old, brand new battery, only 2 months. So I stopped at AutoZone to have them tested to see, like, was it a defective battery or something? And the guy was like, it's probably my transmission. So I'm like, transmission? I'm like, how much does that cost? He said, it's going to be $500. So I'm like, okay, and $500? So he's like, yeah, plus the service fee wherever you take it to have them install the transmission. So I'm like, $500, okay, so that's $600. I'm like, I mean, I don't have the money, because you guys know you might have $600, but it's not for a random thing that popped up. That was for your bills that you intended to take care of your bills with that money. So I'm like, okay. So everything's going through my mind. Like the day before, my debit card was like not working. It wouldn't let me spend over a certain limit. Like I thought it was the chip reader. So I even called the bank, like, is there a hold on my debit card or something like that? Like, and they were like, no. And so I'm like, I don't know why my card is just all of a sudden, like, it won't work at certain stores. And if it does, it's like for a little small amount. So, so that was happening the day before. But on this day, I went to AutoZone. The guy's telling me the price of these things. So I asked him, I said, how long do you think I have with this transmission? Like a day, a month? He's like, he told me, he's like, I have no idea. He said it could quit on you today, or it could quit on you in 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, great. Like, I felt like I was kind of being left in limbo. I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. So I get in the car and I'm like, God, I'm gonna really need you to come through for me. Like, I need you to guide my steps. I have no idea what to do. So as I'm leaving from there, I knew I had 2 hours to pick up my son. I don't even remember where I was gonna go, but I saw O'Reilly like 2 or 3 blocks down. So this is how God talks to all of us. He just puts it in my mind to just go in O'Reilly's and ask them how much for if they even sell transmissions, and how much it would be. So, like, naturally, I feel like I wouldn't even thought of that, because I was already, quoted a price at AutoZone. So this is how you know that this is how God speaks to us, because naturally I feel like I wouldn't even have gone to a second place, because I don't know about anything about these things anyway. So I turn into O'Reilly's, because as I see O'Reilly's coming up, of course, this is how God, like, he drops this down right into you. I go into O'Reilly's. I asked them how much would a transmission, if they even sell transmissions, and how much it would be. He said $400 plus whatever place I go to, there's going to be a service fee. So of course I know about service fees at like auto places, but anyways, so I'm like, okay, great, I'm gonna buy the transmission from O'Reilly's, because it was $100 less. So I leave from O'Reilly's. Oh, the guy told me what place to take it to. So he's like, it's not far from here, but he didn't have street names. He was like, just, it's right, go make a left here, make a right there, and spin around. Like, so I'm like, okay, it's not far, but he told me the name of the place. So when I left from there, I made a U-turn, and I'm like, let me see if I can just find it, try to follow the directions that he gave me. So I see the place. I drive in there. As I'm going in the driveway, the car stops working. It just kind of rolled in there, and my steering wheel was locking up. So I rolled in there, the car stops, and yes, it was my transmission. It just died. So I'm like, okay. So I tell them what's going on, and they're like, okay. So, and they're like, do you know where you want to buy a transmission? I said, I want to get it at O'Reilly's, but that's like 2 or 3 blocks from here. The guy said, no problem. Give me a few minutes. I'll take you. You can purchase it, and we'll put the transmission in today. So I'm like, okay, great. I got 2 hours. So I asked him how long did he think I would be, because there were a lot of people there, before I got there. So he's like, oh, you're going to be at least 4 hours. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, I call the school. I tell them what's going on. Like, I can't even come pick my son up on time, because I'm here getting the car fixed. And so they're like, okay, that's fine. We'll just put him in after school care. So I'm like, oh, that's a $40, because at the school, unless your child is enrolled in after school care, of course you have the fee that comes with that. But if it's just just happens to be a parent is late to pick their kid up, you're gonna need to pay $40 that day when you get there to pick your kid up. So I'm like, okay. So I asked her, because I had never, in 4 years of my son going to that school, I'd never been late to pick him up. So I'm like, what is the fee? I asked her. So she's like, $40. But she said, today I'm just going to waive it for you, just because you've never been late to pick him up ever. And he's gone to the school for a long time. And so I was like, oh, blessed and highly favored. You know how people say that? Like, that was such a huge blessing. She just waived the fee. So, you know, I was there getting the car fixed, so I knew I was gonna pick him up late, so I called them just to let them know. Anyway, so that was like such a huge blessing and favor right there. So what happens is, now I'm concerned that my debit card is not going to be working, and I'm concerned I'm not going to have the money for my bills, because that money that I had was the majority of it was for my bills. So now I'm starting to think like, okay, I'm gonna have to call my cell phone carrier and ask them for a payment arrangement. And you guys know how some places of business, they will allow you to make a payment arrangement with them, like your car insurance and cell phone carriers, things like that. Anyways, so that's all that's going through my mind. So the guy, he takes me there to purchase to O'Reilly's to purchase the alternator. I get it, I take it back there. They put it in. It takes them 4 hours, maybe a little bit more. So I said all that to say, God starts sharpening your intuition about certain things when you're in relationship with them. I feel like that's maybe a lower level of being able to listen to your tuition. And when he says, turn into this place now, go and ask about this, just do it. Sometimes, if you have a lot of noise in your life, you'll ignore that. God talks to all of us all the time. But sometimes, if you have too much noise in your life, too much chaos, too much going on, you can miss a lot of times what he's telling you to do. So I felt really, you know, passionate just to tell this story time, just because I feel like he was saving me money by not allowing my debit card to work the day before. Like, it was like hit and miss places, and then only allowed me to spend a little bit, and then I'll call the bank, and the bank is like, everything's fine, we don't know what's going on with it, maybe you should have just ordered a new card. Like, so we go and having all those discussions. But I really feel like that, because God sees every single thing. He knows every single thing. He knew my transmission was going to go out that day. He didn't allow my card to work the day before, because he wanted me to use that money to pay for the transmission. All of it all comes together. Just think about it, guys. It all comes together. So he sharpens our skills a lot of times through isolation, and not extreme isolation. Sometimes I feel like I need to say that, because not extreme isolation, but isolation. You're pretty much just by yourself. It's funny how when we live with our family and we're with people, sometimes you feel like you need people to be there for you all the time, because you're like, oh, what if my air conditioning goes out? Like, what am I going to do? This. But when you're alone, God just drops all these things to you. He puts all the right people in front of you. Like, he's more than I could ever even, there's no words. There are no words that can describe the way that God takes care of you. You just need to be paying attention and following the guidance that he's giving you. When you ask for guidance, you really have to be looking for it, because he's going to guide you every single day. You just need to be paying attention to it. Your discernment skills for other people start getting really sharp. Like, in the process, when God is just like taking you through it, he's sharpening your skills in so many ways. And like I said, this is just on a lower level. Stay with him. Stick through it. He's going to take you on the inside, much higher places. You will be able to, people will talk to you and you'll be able to feel them out in just a minute. And I'm not talking about, you know how the people are like, oh, I'm blessed and I'm chosen. First of all, if you're chosen, you're never bragging about being chosen. You're never bragging about it, because all that comes with it. It's not easy, and it's painful, and it gets annoying. Like, I don't want to say that's, now it sounds like I'm saying that I'm being chosen, but I already know that people who are chosen, that's not an easy road, and you're never bragging about it. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Being in relationship with God, this is how you can hear and feel his guidance more clearly. When he's telling you to go somewhere, do something, something is not happening, is for a reason. All of it is for a reason. So with that being said, Asirokaya pulling up. I was sitting here just waiting for her. So that she's bringing all the tools that we need to chop up all the pineapples, just all of the fruit to get ready for iftar this evening. So yeah, that's why I was sitting here waiting for her, and I'm like, I might as well share a quick story time with you guys. And with that being said, you guys take care until I come back with another story time. And that's how it feels to be in relationship with him. Always talk to him, allow him to guide you. Don't have too much noise in your life. And I will talk to you later, inshallah.